You've made it to the end of the week. So now let's get ready to enjoy this weekend. Tonight we are going to be doing an awesome project. It's the Pacific Northwest Moonlit Sky. I'm going to get this off of the easel here. This was a commission piece for one of my best buds, Susanna. She really wanted to represent our home alma mater, and also Pacific Northwest people, it's just a way of life. You love the mountains, you love the trees. If you don't and you can't stomach all of the rain, oh man, for having this amazing landscape, then you should move somewhere sunnier because we absolutely love our forests, and that's what we got. So we're gonna get right into it. I hope you have your kit handy. I'm gonna use my brochure just so I know and represent all of the steps that we have. First step that we're gonna be doing is getting our pencil out. We're gonna be putting down just a couple of lines so we can really have a guide for all these mountains and the background. And then we'll get into our colors. So I'm gonna put this brochure right out here. That just has all my steps, and let's skip to it. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab your pencil. And first line that we are going to make is this mountain line right here. So I want you to go down about 3/4 of the way. So that's gonna be kind of right where our little mountainscape is. I'm gonna go up just a little bit, so not quite the middle of the canvas, but just a little bit lower than that middle. And I am going to put some wavy waves there. And right here, like this is just a guideline. You're gonna be getting this kind of mountain line. If you wanna make your mountain peaks more of a peak, great. If you wanna make them more hilly, that's great too. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna do 5 mountain lines. All right, so I have our first line right here. I'm gonna go into another one, and I'm gonna have this one kind of peek up over the other. And just so I know, I'm gonna get rid of this line right here. We're gonna have that up. And I'm gonna label this. I'm gonna label this my white horizon mountain line. This guy right here, I'm gonna do the light blue. So I'm gonna put an LB right there, and then I'm gonna go into another one. So I'm gonna cross it. And then I'm gonna get rid of these little overhangs. I'm gonna label that too. So that's gonna be this one right here. We're gonna go with I'm gonna do a medium light blue, just so I kind of know what I'm getting into here. And then I'm gonna go in with another line. I'm gonna cross one of my lines. And again, erase that line just so you know. I'm going with, and then, so here we're going into this, it's a kind of a medium blue hue. So I'm gonna put MB for medium blue. And then lastly, we're gonna do this long one right here. So I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger. So again, I'm gonna kind of go up and make that line, and then do dark blue. Now I also want to do the valley floor, and I'm kind of noticing something. So I have this up and scrunched a little bit. Now, if you want it to be a little bit farther down, that's okay. I'm actually gonna make my valley floor a little bit higher. So this is gonna be my dark almost black line. This is where the trees are gonna come up. And I'm actually gonna add one more dark blue line. Here, hold on. Let's see, I'm gonna put one more right there. That's because this is gonna be my I'm gonna put very dark blue. Like that. There we go. And then this is gonna be the black. Okay, now that we have our lines down, if you don't like one of your mountainscapes, you can erase it and really set it accordingly. I kind of bunched mine together. We'll see how it turns out. I may like it, I may not like it that much. Really, tonight is just about having fun and putting paint on a canvas. It's not about doing it perfect. It's about showing up and just having a good time. So we're gonna start right here and we're gonna go into the background. So what I want you to do is on your palette, you're gonna get out a couple of different colors and mix them with white. So here, I'm gonna open up all my colors here since we're going into the background. Now, I'm gonna start off with black. I'm gonna put it onto my popsicle stick. And a little goes a long way when it comes to black pigmented paint. Like, I mean, just that much is all that I am going to use. And then I am going to get a little bit onto my palette to mix with some of my blues to make them a darker shade. And then since I'm not using the black anymore, I'm gonna cover it up. And I'm gonna use my paper towel to get the rest of the black paint off. And then I'm also gonna use, so this is another thing that I'm gonna put onto my canvas first. I want this right at the top of our first line. I'm gonna be putting some white. I put this on first because these are our most dramatic shades. And you really want this to be color blocked with a white, and you really want this to have that dark kind of starry night. And I'm also going to put a little bit of white on my palette to work with my blues. So now that we have those on our canvas, these are the first ones I'm going to start with. And I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm using just a wash brush. This is a 5/8. Getting it wet and then kind of tapping on, and I'm gonna start with my I'm gonna start with the black, but I'm only just gonna try to kind of get a little bit of set on here. And it's, I mean, again, we're going like 1/2 inch on the top. We're not going all the way. I don't want to get it all, I don't want to overthink it. I just want to get the black on the very top. If the paint feels sticky on your brush, you can grab a little bit of water and reapply. If you start to see the canvas in between your brush strokes, that means that you need a little bit more paint or a little bit of water to water it down. You don't want to use more than about 30% water to your 70% paint. Otherwise, it doesn't really stay on your canvas. So see how you can kind of see the canvas, and I have a little bit too much water here. It's more gray, it's not black. I'm gonna add some more paint to the top. And this is gonna be the top of our moonlit sky. Okay, that's all I'm doing right now. I'm gonna get it on my brush. And then we're gonna have fun with our blues. So I have a navy, I have a Thalio, not very good at pronouncing that name, blue. And then I also have a primary cyan blue. So each one of these serves a purpose. One of them just has a little bit more gray tones in it. And I'm gonna be putting these on top of our canvas here. You can use a palette knife if you'd like. But I'm gonna put the darker colors here, and I'm also going to add it a little bit in the in-between. There we go. Like so. Add a little bit to the sides. You really wanna make sure that you get the size of your canvas as well. It's something that I very easily forget to do, and if you forget it, when it's hanging up on your wall, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. And you can't really go back as easily as you can while you're painting. So I'm adding that phthalo blue. If you know how to say that name, please correct me, because I feel like I'm always getting it wrong. But again, we're just here to paint. All right, Ooh, this blue is gonna be really pretty. Do you see how I'm keeping the blues kind of up here? I don't want to go past my white paint zone. I want to keep that as light as possible. We'll pull these colors down in just a little bit. Now I'm getting the primary cyan and I'm putting that down below. I'm still leaving some space for that white because I don't want to bring my blues as far down as possible. And I'm gonna add a little bit of this up top too. There we go. Looks like a little polka dot project. Love it. Okay, now we're not using your blues. Acrylics dry out really quickly, so you want to cover them when you're not using them. Extra gold stars if you get paint on your hands. All right, and now we're gonna go in with the wash. So I'm getting my paintbrush just a little bit wet and then I'm dabbing it so it's not too wet. If you're getting water droplets on your painting, it's no me gusta, don't do it. And I'm gonna start with the white now, and I am going to brush stroke horizontally from the left to the right. I'm gonna get into this line, but I'm not gonna try to go over the pencil too much, just a little bit. You might ask, Shannon, why do you have to paint the white canvas white? What is going on there? Why can't you just leave it? And well, if you leave it, you run the mistake of having the canvas not primed and it will crack. Or it just might look a little funky. Now, see how I'm starting to get in that blue? That's okay. Once you get into the blue, don't go back into the white. Keep going up the canvas. Don't go down, go up. And we are gonna come back to it. You're gonna make multiple sweeps. I'm trying to get these edges while I'm also going along. And just keep going up. Just keep going up. Keep looking up. Ooh, and that's bright. Look at how bright that is. Wow. No matter how many times you do the same painting, you will always come up with a different color combo. And that's one thing I love about the artsy fartsy times. Every single one comes out incredibly uniquely beautiful. And if you want to add some darker color to this, you can. I'm going to actually add a little bit of black to the top and have it come down. I have a little bit too much blue, but I'm going to run it all the way up into that black, just like so. Make sure you're getting the sides and sweeping it over, sides, sweeping it over. A little bit of the top. Okay, and this is where we're gonna start all over again. Wash your brush. It doesn't have to be completely 100% washed, but you need to be able to get as much of that pigment off as you can. Now, I'm gonna go in with some black again, and I'm gonna add it with my popsicle stick because I just don't wanna, I don't have to clean my brush again. So I'm gonna add a little bit here because I want this top dark moody space. All right, now going back in, dip with the water, dip onto your rag, and then, ooh, see how it's not clean, so I have a little bit of the blue. But I'm gonna go with it. I'm moving that light color up. And once I go up, I'm gonna keep going. You can't go back down with the blue, otherwise it's gonna mess up your colors. So you just wanna keep blending by going up. And I'm very, very lightly dragging my brush onto the canvas. I'm not pressing hard with the brush, I'm very, very lightly dragging the brush up. That's really important. Otherwise, you're going to be taking paint off the canvas instead of putting it on. I'm going to move those dark colors a little bit down. I want a little bit of variation here, so I'm adding a little bit of the brown, or I'm sorry, the black down there, and then I'm going to wash my brush. Now I'm also going to add some other colors. I see this being really dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more white. And again, tiny little, I don't even want to put on there, so I'm little itty bitty spots to add on. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of my navy blue. I want a little bit more navy in there. I have some really bright blues, but I kind of want to bring the navy back. There we go. Okay. If you like the really bright blues, please leave the bright blues. But it's really what you feel comfortable with and what you like. So again, I'm going to start at this bottom. And I'm going to bring the white up. Keep going. If you start to feel your brush stick, my brush is really kind of sticky, so I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. And keep spreading the paint. I'm going to go up, and we're going to do this a couple more passes. You're going to feel like you're doing it too much, but we want to get these colors blended. If you need to lift your canvas up to focus on these sides, and then bring it over. If you have too much paint on your canvas, you can scrape it off with your paper towel, or you can move it to a different part of the canvas that doesn't have as much paint. So again, I'm getting the sides of my canvas have really chunky pieces of paint, so I'm going to try to bring that into the middle. Bring it over into the middle. Very lightly. Bringing it over. Make sure you don't forget the top. And we're going to go in. It's going to get repetitive. Dun dun. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to my brush this time since I have blue. The water is really making that light blue. And then again, I'm going to go hard in this line here. And you'll start to feel that stick a lot once your paint is drying. We want to make sure that we get the sweeps. I want to get this nice and blended. Go up, wash my brush. And I'm adding a little bit of white each time that I start because I want to bring this white up a little bit more. So I'm getting just a little bit on my brush, not very much. And then I'm really blending that line, making it a soft, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to blend these soft, colorful lines. And so we blend that in and then we move it up. And see how we move it up, it'll blend some more. Ooh, we get these nice, beautiful streaks. Because I have that white on my brush, it's getting a little bit up here, but it gives it this nice pop of color. I like that. If you start to see your brush have a separation on the side, that's where you can go on the sides and drag your brush over, drag it over. And you are gonna keep doing this step until you have the results that you want. So I am looking for a nice wash of color. I like the blues. I love every time that we do this pass. It makes me like it even more. Okay, so this one, let's see what we got here. A little bit of that. Now again, we're starting from the bottom. My brush has a little bit of water on it. Very gently sweeping. I almost get even gentler sweeps with each pass, like barely even touching. I mean, my brush might fall out of my hand just because I'm going so incredibly lightly. And it's because I don't want to take the paint off. I just want to very gently blend those colors. I'm going to do one more pass, and then I really like how this is turning out. So I have water on my brush, and I'm really looking at these sides, and then I'm sweeping over, looking at the side and sweeping over. Woohoo! Oh, I like that. Kind of reminds me when you're in an airplane and you're going and you just see that beautiful hazy horizon line. Ooh, that's nice. All right. I love it. I wouldn't change a thing. So right now, I want you to go get some fresh water, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna fill in all of our mountain lines and the rest of our canvas. So go clean your brush, get some fresh water, and meet me back here. Yay! Okay, so you have your fresh water. My brush is very nicely cleaned. All right, so we're gonna go into these mountain lines. Your paint's not gonna be dry, that's okay. Just ignore it for now. Our first line that we're gonna go into, and I'm gonna put my wash down. I'm actually gonna use, let's see, this is a 4 filbert. Medium-sized brush. It can be a round brush, but I'm gonna get it a little bit wet here. And then I'm gonna go in with the white. And I'm gonna fill in these mountains. So I'm gonna go in, and you are going to be able to see your pencil marks. That's okay. And you're gonna think like, why are you doing white with a white background? And really, when you are up above the tree line and you are looking at the mountains, everything that is closer will be a darker contrasting color, and everything that is farther away is going to be lighter. And so those very, very, very far off mountains will look like they fade into the horizon line. And that is what we're doing. So I'm going in. I'm just going to fill in these two. And we're going to go back a couple of times. So if you still see your pencil mark, don't worry. I would rather have you put a light layer on than just chunk on your paint. And if you get over into the other mountain line, that's okay, because we're going to be doing a lighter color too. That's why we go one step at a time. So your white. Now, if you want a trick to speed up this process, oh boy. I have a hair dryer. I love this thing. Now, I am going to dry this little mountain that I did. So it takes me like 2 seconds to do this, as opposed to waiting 3 minutes and then reapplying a layer of paint. I'm an impatient person sometimes, and I like to just jump ahead. So my hefty difty hair dryer is perfect for this. Super quick. Whoa. You're welcome for that painting hack. It's pretty amazing. I don't know how it works with oils. It probably doesn't work with oils, but with acrylics it works really well. So I'm going back over this mountain line. With the white. Ooh. Let me get on this side. Look at that. Yay! And I'm good with just the 2 passes. So that's perfect. Now we are going to make this light blue. That's going to be your next one. So I'm going to keep that white right there, and I'm going to add a little bit, actually I'm going to light a little bit of this primary cyan. Add just a teensy amount to the white. A little bit goes a long way. Basically you're using the white paint as a base and then adding just a little bit of that pigment color. And it's even a little bit too bright and too blue for me. So I am gonna use my stick. Sometimes I'll put my brush into the blues or into the colors if I have like a white or something on there, because I know it's not going to overtake the entire palette of color. But if you're trying to get more of your white paint, use a dipstick or something to get out of there, or a clean brush, because you really don't want to put color into your white. Otherwise it will not be white anymore, and then you don't get to work with that shade. There we go. And we're looking for a very light blue, something that's just a step down. So I like this color here. Okay, and now we're gonna go in. I had marked earlier the LB for light blue, and we're gonna go in and do that mountain. It's okay if you get into your other lines. The goal here is, it's okay to get down below, but don't go up. Try to have a nice line at the top. You don't want to have to go back in. And if you need more paint on your brush, if it's starting to separate and you can see the canvas, get more paintbrush, or I'm sorry, get more paint on your paintbrush, and then go in again. You want to have a nice crisp line at the top. Right, like so. This painting always reminds me, I did this backpacking trip with a couple of my friends Years ago when my firstborn was a year old. It was my first time away from my family. Ooh, for an entire weekend, and we didn't have cell phone reception, so good job, husband, for taking care of the babe. And we did this hike, and it was at Mount Rainier, and there's this one like brutal, crazy switchbacks, like you're questioning why you're even going up there. And you got to the top out of the tree line, and you could just see for miles and miles and miles. It was crazy, and all the different ridge lines, all the different mountain peaks. It was beautiful, and it reminds me exactly of this painting. It's so cool. I didn't realize how blue everything looked. You're up there. It's very pretty. Okay. Now we have our second color. And you cannot see any of your pencil marks. It's perfect. Now I'm gonna add just a step down. We're gonna go into this color right here. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more blue, but I am not going to add more of the primary cyan. I'm gonna go into my deeper blue, add just an itty bitty amount. And I'm adding it into the blue that I already did. Why? Because I don't like to waste paint, and we already have the base colors. And so this will color match better than if you started completely from square one. And it's always better to use the paint that you have. I'm not gonna waste it, it's amazing. It's a little bit light for me, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more. I'm adding itty bitty amounts at a time. I don't wanna go too dark too quickly. So what do you think? Like that? Nah, we're gonna go a little bit darker. A little bit more. See how that works. And if you ever have a bunch of paint on the top of your brush, you can kind of roll it off the top and get it back onto the tip of your brush. Okay, so I'm gonna go with that. Ooh, I like that. And again, you're wanting to make this hard, nice line up top. If you start running out of paint, you can flip your brush. I'm gonna carry this all the way over and to the side. Remember, you don't want to forget those sides. There we go. Okay, adding more. And this little hump here, right in the corner, gonna bring that over. And the most important line that you have, see, I'm kind of losing the pigment, so I'm gonna add a little bit of water to this just to let that paint really continue to go. I don't want to run out of it. But the line that you're really your focal point is going to be the very top. Oops. And see how I started to do the wrong mountain line? Oh, that's okay. There are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. Another gold star to whoever knows who said that. It was Bob Ross. He said that. And I love it. It's one of my favorite quotes to make while painting. There are no mistakes, just happy little accidents. Okay, I'm going over on the side, and I'm gonna kind of fill this in here. I'm starting to lose that paint. I'm really trying. I don't want to make more of it, so I'm gonna add a little bit of water. I'm gonna roll my brush to get all that paint off. If you really have to remix the color, that's okay. I recommend remixing right where the blue was, just so you can know exactly what color to match. But if you can add a little bit of water in and make it work, do that first. Okay. Now see how we only had to do one pass there? Isn't that nice? Yay! All right. I'm gonna clean my brush off and start over since we're going into some darker colors. Now, we've got the white, light blue, medium blue, and this is a little bit brighter than this is. I prefer it that way, but we're going into this color right here. So I'm going to start off with my base. I'm gonna add some more white. And I'm gonna add a little bit more onto my palette on the side in case I need some more colors. Always cover your paint. Back up. Okay. Now I am gonna go in and start mixing. I'm adding more blue this time because I'm a little bit more confident in getting that darker color. See how quickly that came? And I like to mix it right where that blue is because I want to see how dark it is and just what tone I'm trying to get next to the tone that I just had. So we have a nice base. And then this is where I'm gonna add a little bit of my navy. I want some of my darker pigment here. And navy is more of a gray blue tone. So it's gonna give you a darker tone, and then we can go into adding just a teensy bit of black as well. So I'm gonna add some navy there because we're gonna use it for some other colors too. I'm gonna try to get it off. I'm gonna use all that color. And we're gonna mix that in. Ooh, this is gonna be pretty. Yes. I don't know what it is about mixing paint, but I love it. It's all gloopy and moves around so beautifully and fluidly. It's really nice. I've never tried acrylic pours, but I feel like I would really like them just for the fact that you're pouring paints. Yes, I like that. Okay, this is gonna be my next one. All right, it's a shade darker, has a little bit more variation, and we lost that top line a little bit. That's okay. You're kind of making it up as you go. So whatever you like is what we're going with. So I have a ton of paint on my brush, so it's a lot easier to gloop it on. I didn't really dry the other mountains this time because I haven't really had to yet. With how thick this paint layer is, I might have to dry it before I go into the next one. Really have fun with it though. If you live in a place to where you're, like if you're Colorado, Montana, and you have like these crazy peaks, you want something that looks kind of more like glacier and rocky, jagged mountaintops, do it. Do what really speaks to you, because I mean, we have some peaks, but the majority of our North Cascades have some crazy peak lines. We're down in like Portland and Vancouver area, so we have Mount Hood, that's a peak, or Rainier, that's a peak. St. Helens, it lost its peak. So if you want to put a volcano, that kind of looks a little bit like a volcano, do it. Woohoo! Okay. So I'm gonna clean that. I'm actually gonna dry this with a blow dryer now. I want the sides to be dry. Oop. I say that and I have one little spot that I need to touch up. Just to blend that in. So I'm gonna get the blow dryer out and just blow dry these little mountains. What do you guys think so far? You like it? Ooh. I'm gonna do another pass with this blue. It looks like you can see some brush strokes a little bit. So I'm gonna get my brush into the paint and I'm gonna do one more pass here. If yours looks good, then continue or wait for me to make my mountains a little bit more mountainy. But I'm just sweeping this color so you can you don't see any separation. All right, now I'm gonna dry it again. It doesn't have to be completely dry either. Just as long as you have a nice line to work with that isn't completely wet, because you don't want the colors to kind of bleed together. All right, so we're gonna go into our next color. We are now down here, and I added another one. So I went a little racy. I added a little bit of a lot. So I'm gonna go in and bring the rest of my navy down into here. I'm kind of avoiding that white because I don't want it to get darker. And I'm gonna add a little bit of the black. Ooh, that was a lot more of the black than I thought I was gonna add. And do you see how adding that black, it goes from blue to just this gray tone now. So I am going to add some more blue. I don't want to completely go gray. I want to have these pops of bright colors. And I'm going to use my stick because I don't want to get these colors too muddled. And I always like to clean my stir stick just because I want to be able to have no color go in if I'm using that. Okay, so we're going in here. I added that blue. It's got a nice tone to it. And then I like to look just below so it's very close to the same. So that means I'm going to add some more blue. I'm going to add some more navy here. Or you know what? We haven't done any of the primary cyan. Let's add some of that. Let's see what happens. So one thing I like about mixing paint, you literally get a different tone and shade every time. Or at least I do. If you can color match exactly the same way every time, you're a hero of mine. Because I can try, but it's just not going to come out 100% the same. All right. That's really close to the same. I'm going to test it just by being on there. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit different. And just a little bit more. The black. It's moody tone. Okay, now I'm ready. Again, top line is your most important. I like to make sure I'm getting the sides so I don't miss that. I'm getting some excess paint off, just kind of right into that middle, and then I'm going to go in again. I'm going to get this top line here. Ooh. If you want to kind of do some jagged edges, you can, you know, have a shakier hand. That'll make less smooth lines, more kind of rigid, rocky terrain. I'm trying to scoop all that paint. I want to have that nice line at the top. And then go into the rest of the flow. Just like so. Now, I don't want to mix more paint. I want to make this work. So I am getting the last little dollops. Because all I have is this little side edge. And then we'll get that last 2 layers down. If it's shiny, you have a hard time kind of seeing that perspective, you can kind of move your canvas around. Those lines, like this line here, has a kind of a gunky top, so I'm going to kind of smooth it out. Make sure I get the sides. Just like that. Awesome. Woohoo! Okay. Now we're going to do the very dark blue. And again, we're going to go into the hair. So I'm automatically am just going to go in with a little bit of my navy. I don't even care that where's there. But almost even, I think I'm actually just going to use navy as my color. Look at how moody that is. I like that. Ooh. And I did not clean my brush. I still have that dark blue. So I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to go with it. Ooh, I like that. I love it a lot. Okay, this top line is really what we're focused about, and then we can fill in the rest. And I am going to get some more paint. So you can either use your palette or you can use the blue that's in here, but I'm just going to use my little pods to get it on there. And I'm probably going to do 2 passes with this navy because it seems like it's not a thick pigment. That means that, you know, you can kind of see these brush strokes. And I don't want you to see those brush strokes. I want to kind of have it all be one unified mountain. So we're going to go in here. I don't care that I'm covering up this line. We're going to go into that next. But I want to have this dark blue. I want to have this navy blue here. Okay, and this is where I'm going to close this for just a minute. I'm not cleaning my brush. I don't need to yet. But I am going to dry the canvas one more time. If you don't have a blow dryer handy, again, you can use something else. So you can use your little brochure, fan it like church on Sunday, fan yourself, fan a canvas, or you can use something else. There's so many different things. I've used my palette before, but since I have paint on it, I don't really recommend doing that. Again, if you have the dryer handy, it really does make your life a whole lot easier. Or it just gives you some time to go to the bathroom, grab a refresher. Ooh, and this went in my white. Uh-oh. Hold on. So I am going to clean my brush now. Really, I feel like dry time is always kind of set up to where you can take a break if you'd like, which is nice. Grab some snacks. I don't tend to eat while I paint. I do talk though. Music, very nice for painting. And if you get any of these streaks in your paint, this is just from the top of the bottle being opened. It's like a little clunk. Get those out before the paint dries. It's always nice to get it out before the paint dries, because then if you try to get it off after the paint has dried completely, you're gonna be left with a scar. It's gonna look like this little piece that just doesn't come up. And at that point, you should just leave it. Don't take it off. Otherwise you'll have a white blop and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's something that you'll see more than anybody else will. So I just leave it. Or if you catch it while the paint is wet, take it off. Scoop it out. Okay, our mountains are officially done. So the next step that we're gonna do is this forest bottom. This is going to be our forest floor. It's gonna be the base and also the base of our trees. So we're just gonna do black. It's gonna mimic the top of our painting. So I'm getting the blue off of my paint just because I don't want it in my black. Oop, and I have some here on my canvas, so I'm just gonna use this first. I'm gonna need a lot more than that. And again, the line that you're really concerned with is this top line. You want to be able to have the top line beautifully marked. And then you can shimmy down fast. And I like to bring them up a little bit on the sides, just so your eye is going visually into the center of the canvas. I would rather have my eye go into the center just by rounding these edges on the side. It's kind of like if you used a vinaigrette, is it vinegar? No, vignette filter on a picture, and if you noticed it brings your eye closer into your focal point, into the center of the photo that you use that filter on, and it's a way of just kind of framing that middle. That's also my favorite filter. I may not be able to say it or articulate it the best way. I call it vinaigrette, like the salad dressing, but I love using it. All right, and be sure to grab your corners, your sides. You do not want to forget those. And you might notice that you forgot those for some of your mountains. It would be a good time to kind of doctor that up and try to put that in now as opposed to later. It's always harder to go back to one of the first steps. later on in the painting than it is to just handle it. And you're there. Okay. Woohoo! We got it. Okay. So I want you, again, to get some fresh water. We're also going to get our brushes. If you use more than one, please get them really nicely washed. A trick to get them completely washed is to press them onto the very bottom of your sink like this, just to get that pigment out since we were using such dark colors. And then we're going to come in and we're going to focus on the moon and the stars, and then we'll go into our trees last. So again, fresh water, come back, and we'll do the moon and the stars. Okay, everybody, so I'm gonna get this dry just because I am a clumsy lady. I don't want to get black paint all over my arm. I'm a lefty and I have a tendency of dragging it all over my canvas. So I'm gonna dry this part on the bottom up, and then we're gonna focus on the top. It doesn't have to be 100%, but 85%, 90 would be good. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna go into the moon here. And I'm just gonna forewarn you, this makes me nervous. So if it makes you nervous, you're probably nervous. And you're like, hey, I've never painted a moon before. Well, I don't paint moons all the time either. So we're just gonna jump right into it, okay? So I'm gonna have you pick up, if you have your paint kit that you got on mamagramspaint.com, you'll have this nice little water cup. I am using a little mason jar right now just because I don't like to use the cups that I have nice and handy, but you're going to use your water cup. So you might have water in this right now. What you're going to do is very gently, you are going to put this on your canvas where you want your moon. I am going to put mine just to the right of the center of my canvas, and I'm having it at the top, and then I am going to try to make a mark. I'm going to see if we can actually see my pencil mark, but I am dragging my pencil on the bottom of my cup. Do not drop your cup of water on your painting, but just use the very bottom. And I mean, I'm really penciling it on. Ooh, oh, that's gonna be fun. So that is going to be your moon. All right, now we're gonna go through, sorry, I keep booty bumping my table here. So we are going to be using white, and we're also going to be using just a teensy dab of that navy blue to give it a nice moon texture. But first, I'm going to start off with the white. So I'm going to use my filbert again. This is my middle-sized brush. This is a number 4, and I'm going to go in with just the white here. And I am going to go over my pencil marks. And if you need to move this closer to you, you can. You can move this upside down. That's what I'm going to do. And again, that edge, what we are going for is a smooth outer edge. I don't care what the middle looks like. I just want that moon to have that round crescent look. If you need to move your canvas around to feel comfortable, please do. And I'm taking my wrist and I'm taking my hand and I'm resting it on a flat surface to steady my hand. If you have a shaky hand and you're like, oh no, my hand's all over the place, steady it. Either use your right hand and use it as a base for your hand to kind of steady to where you're only having your fingers free. Move your canvas to where you feel comfortable. Don't feel like you have to stay in exactly one spot. So again, I'm going through and I'm moving that paint. My wrist is resting on the edge of the table. And I'm trying to get that line. I'm gonna keep rotating my canvas so it's easier for me. And so again, so this is hard for me to kind of get in here on this corner. So I'm gonna rest my right hand onto my painting and then put my left hand right on top. If you're right-handed, you can do the same thing. Just use your left hand as the base and put your right hand on top. But it really helps. It helps being able to steady your hand, especially when you're trying to curve like over and you're looking for just that moon round. And when you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable with your sweeps, then turn the canvas again. The more comfortable you feel doing this, the better you're gonna feel about your work later. And then you're gonna fill it in. I like to fill in with circular motions because it is a circular moon. The same as the horizon line is horizontal lines, so I like to fill it in horizontally. You wanna try to keep going with those motions, and I'm gonna kind of fill in these sweeps of white. And do you see how, since it's white on top of that dark color, look at how you kind of create these layers of craters without even trying. It's amazing. I love that about it. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit more of the white just to kind of fill in. I'm gonna be nitpicky here. I'm gonna try to get my moon to be absolutely round. And if you have a couple of little mess ups and you're like, oh, I don't really like that shape, or you know, it looks a little blobby on one side, we could put a cloud there. You know, like just improvise, go with what you have. So I'm gonna add just a couple of little dabs. I'm dabbing the paint. I'm dabbing the white onto the moon there. And then I'm gonna go in and see how on my palette I have these like blues. I'm just kind of gonna dab and I'm gonna add a little bit to that. And I'm gonna add a little bit to the right side. And those are real, I mean, that's a light blue, almost too light for me. But we're gonna go in with some other colors. And I'm just trying to add some texture. That's what I'm doing. The moon has lots of texture. I'm gonna leave that left side. I don't want the white to kind of get over there. And if I need to clean my brush, because I have blue on my, and I kind of got blue into that little white zone there. So I'm gonna grab some more white, and I am gonna grab some of my navy and put it on my palette so I can get these nice craters in here with that nice coloring. Look at how nicely that stands out. It's beautiful. Again, be sure to cover your paint. I have little kids, and sometimes I forget to cover my paint, and they either A, get into the paint, or B, it all dries out, and I get so bummed out because paints are expensive. It's not, a little goes a long way, and if you lose all that paint, it's like, oh man, why did I do that? What was I thinking? Thought it would be a quick little something, and nope. So again, I'm just dabbing this on. I'm lightly tapping. I'm not doing anything too crazy. I'm going in kind of some different motions. I'm not going over to the left. That's my no-go zone. But I am getting these darker colors dabbed on to this side here. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of black to what I have here. I'm trying to go for like this really dark, moody gray tone. And then I'm gonna dab that gray. And do you see how when I dab that gray, it takes that blue and just really muddles it down. Now, some of this, I want that line to be a dark line. So I'm going over that white line, sweeping it, and then dabbing it to kind of blend into the center. Getting some dark little dabs, sweeping it over to the side. Dabbing just a little bit, itty bitty 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 amounts to kind of make look like it's blended. And then I'm gonna flip it over this way. And that's where I'm gonna swoosh this line here. And then dab, dab, dab. Get that dark gray going. Just tapping it in. A little tap, 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 tap. And then you can do big taps, you know? A couple of moody little craters. And if it's too much for you, I'm not cleaning my brush here. I'm just putting dabs. And it's because I want it to be chunky. I want it to be moody. If you start to feel like you're tampering with it too much and you're kind of losing that color, like right now, I'm kind of losing that color. So I'm gonna stop going dab happy. That sounds funny. And then do some darker ones in here. This is just where you're building texture, you know, it's whatever. You can stop when you feel like you've gotten it. I'm gonna clean my brush a little bit and go back in. Ooh. I didn't even put any paint on my brush because I already have a ton of paint right here in the moon. So what I'm doing is kind of going through and cleaning up this line and then lessening the crazy dabs that I did earlier. And then I'm gonna leave it. I love that. Do you see the texture there? Beautiful. And how you kept this line here so it's almost like that crescent. All right, now we're gonna go in with some sweeps of the clouds. So I'm gonna get my brush wet, and I don't have very much, I have like no pigment on on my paintbrush at all right now. I have maybe just a little bit left over of that gray, and that's okay. So you don't want a lot of paint here because you're almost like using your paintbrush as a pencil line. You just want to guide to where these wisps are going to go. So again, I have like a little bit of the leftover pigment and water. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sweep where my clouds are gonna go. So I want some clouds to go here. I want a little, we're gonna do a little line there. And I'm gonna bring it, you know, right into here. And then I'm gonna do a top one here. So I'm gonna kinda back and forth. Oh, it's gonna go over. Like that. Okay, this is my guide. Now, I can kind of fill this in with just, you know, a little bit of the brush until I lose some of it, but really I'm just adding a little bit of cloud work here. Do you see how I don't have very much on here? I mean, this is water. This is water and a little itty bitty amount of gray paint. But look at what it does. So a little bit of water, and I'm just using this leftover gray right here. This was our moon crater pigment. I'm not recreating it. I'm just using what we have and lightly bringing it in. And then we'll go in and put some shades in there. I'm kind of ignoring the moon right now and just doing the clouds that are going in and out of it. That's because we're gonna get darker colors when it goes into the moon. But it's gonna be a lighter gray for these sweeps of the clouds. And I want them to be kind of wispy, you know, like misty, mysterious. No, there should be a werewolf somewhere in our mountains howling at them. Maybe Van Helsing on another mountain. Let's see. All right. Now, this is where we kind of go in with some colors. So I have a little bit more black, and I'm gonna get a little bit of white so we get this dark gray here. I like to use what I have here before I start making some more colors. A little itty bitty 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 tiny. The black goes a long way when you mix it with the white. It makes this nice gray. I want to add a little bit of blue, but I don't. Oh, I do have a little bit of blue on my canvas. So I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to that. It's gonna be like this stone blue gray. Add a little bit of water here to kind of water it down so it's like an ink consistency. And then this is where I'm gonna go in where the clouds are in the moon. Now the moon is still wet, so you're gonna go really lightly. Ooh. And you're gonna wisp this over. You don't want to lose that circular moon, and you might lose that because it's still a little wet. Mine's still a little bit wet. So I'm really just trying to use this dark color in the moon. And then I'm going to get a little bit more, this is just a teensy bit darker than the gray. And again, we're going to go in and I'm very lightly going horizontal sweeps back and forth. I get really quiet when I'm concentrating. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna put some navy back on my nice little palette here because I am out of blue on my palette and I want some blue on there. So we're gonna get some blue. It doesn't matter where you put it. Kind of putting it all over the place, but just as long as you have a little dollop. And then I have some white left in there, so I'm gonna get a little bit of that back onto my brush. Just a little bit of water. And where I am gonna try to add the blue, so I'm gonna add a little bit right into these middle of the mountains. It's almost like just a shade that's kind of going in there and blending, and then I'm gonna add a little bit to these sweeps as well. So again, I want the gray too, because that's what we started off with. So I'm getting the gray on my brush, and then I am gonna add just a little bit of that navy. And I'm almost painting it like a watercolor. I don't want this to be extremely, I don't want it to be too watered. If it's running water onto your painting, you've gone too far. And that's, don't blot it with anything. You want to use the hairdryer or just wait till it dries. You don't want it to run, but you just want a little bit of the blue to pop out. And I'm not going over all my lines, I'm just going over some of them. I'm going over a little bit. And I like to kind of I'm gonna add a little bit to these guys too. But these little tiny shades of color will pop and blend in. It's like each layer that you add into, I'm gonna add a little bit more of that navy here. And I want it to be a little bit more dramatic because I still have the paint wet in the moon. It's not setting as nicely. So, oh, there we go. See how you get these colors in there? Ooh. There we go. Now, I want to do the other side. So I have the blue still, but I'm adding white, and then I'm adding the white to the outside of my moon and dragging it across to add some highlights to my clouds. So I have the navy, and then I'm just adding white to it, and I'm just adding little pops of shades, just a little bit. If you start to see, your brush is kind of sticking, it's not really flowing, grab some water. It's really easy. You don't want to have too much. That's why I kind of wipe it all over my palette here, and then I go in with the white and go back into it. You don't want it totally saturated with water, but you want your brush to be able to flow. Again, some more white. I'm going to add some white pickups to these clouds. I'm using whatever's left over on my paint palette. I like to use it before I lose it. Use it before you lose it. And again, no rhyme or reason. I'm going over the same lines that I had before. But look, I have more paint on there, so it makes a much more dramatic difference. And if it's too light for you, then go back over with a darker color. Just like so. I'm gonna get kind of like this little sweepy here. And then I am gonna go in with a dark navy and sweep that back into my cloud here. Sweeping the navy in there, sweeping the navy. Ooh. All right. And we're done with that section right there. We're gonna do the stars before we head into our trees. So for the stars, I like to use a toothpick actually. That's one of my favorite secret weapons. I do not have one at my table right now. So what I'm gonna use is a tiny, this is a number 2, yep, 2 round brush. And because it's pretty new, I like that it's stiff. So I am going to just use my little white, and I'm actually gonna turn this upside down. You can flick white with a brush if you wanted. So these are a couple of different ways. You can take the brush and you can flick it, kind of like you were, flicking a toothbrush. Only I have found when you do that, it creates this beautiful dusting, but it also, I'll show you on this one. It creates a dusting, but it also creates little droplets. So if you like that technique, do that. Or if you want something that's a little bit more stand out, then you can physically put them on there with your number 2. There it is. All right, so I'm gonna do a couple of little droplets. I like to do this, it's more controlled. I only put paint on the very, very, very tip, and doot, doot. I'm gonna put very, very, very faint lines down in that dark blue line. I am not going to put them too far down. No rhyme or reason, very, very, very lightly tapping. Put maybe like some that are kind of like peeking out. I like to put them too close to the mid. Ooh. Like a little itty bitty. Boop, boop. Don't worry, we'll actually look at our painting the right way in just a second. I like to do this because it kind of tricks your brain into not looking at the whole picture, especially when I'm trying to kind of just get spots on there. I have a tendency of overthinking things if I just look at it too long right that way. I'm also putting some on the sides. So again, these little sides, you want to kind of get filled in now. Okay, and then this is where we are gonna flip it over. Ooh, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna add a couple of big stars to kind of focus on because we have a lot of little bitty teeny ones. If you'd like to delete any of them, you can, but it's always harder to do that. So you can make kind of some bigger stars on the stars you've already done. Like I'm gonna make a big star right there, and a big star right there. And I like to just do, some big, some little, some itty bitty teeny. And then after this, we will get some fresh water and do our trees. Hooray. Big one there. And I'm gonna do a couple of little itty bitty teeny ones. Further away there. Now I kind of added some in the bottom, so what I'm going to do is kind of a little bit too, I don't want these guys just be hanging out by themselves, so I'm kind of adding just a teensy bit. But the little ones, because you don't see big stars down below, just itty bitty teeny ones. Ooh, I like it. Ooh, I like it a lot. So I'm gonna clean my brush, kind of cover my paint so it doesn't dry. What do you guys think? Looking closely. Moons and stars, right? Okay. So while that dries a little bit, fresh water again. Go ahead and take your brushes, clean them all the way out, and then come back. We will do our trees. Yay! Okay, welcome back. So we are going to get started with our trees right here. So, the best way that I like to do this is I'm gonna just get my palette out of the way because I'm gonna be working with the black exclusively. I like to make a vertical line going down. So I'm gonna show you a nice little brochure. Each kit that you get has this brochure included in it, which is nice. It usually has a party link right here with a QR code so you can get directly to this party. But right here, I like to make a horizontal line and then kind of bring in these triangles just so I know exactly where my trees are gonna go. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So I'm using a number 2 round and I'm gonna dip it into the black paint. And I am going to be making my tallest trees the outside and my shortest trees in the middle. So I'm gonna mark them. I want a tree here. And again, this doesn't have to be like perfect. I'm just making a line so I know kind of where. I'm gonna get a little bit of water in my brush here. Now I'm gonna do another tree and I want it to be right there. And I'm not gonna do 3 trees, I'm actually gonna do just 2 on each side because I have a nice little something I wanna add at the end. There we go. Okay, so I have 4 lines. They do not look significant. So something I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a little bit of water here because I want to use a black exclusively. I could have used my palette, but I don't know. I'm feeling frisky. I'm gonna add the black to the water and I'm gonna make an ink consistency. That's what I'm looking for. If you don't know what ink consistency is, you want it to be kind of like, I don't know, it reminds me of calligraphy pens, you know, like that really watered down inky ink. It's ink, it's watery ink, like octopus ink. Okay, And then because I'm left-handed, I'm gonna start with this tree over here. If you're right-handed, please start on the left-hand side, just so you're not moving your hand over onto your beautiful mountains, because it's a pain to have to go through that. So start on the right-hand side if you're a lefty. If you're right-handed, you're gonna start on the right-hand side. And you're gonna start at the very tip of the line that you just made, and you're gonna go down and bring it back to the center line. Then you're gonna go out like a triangle, and then you're gonna shimmy it roughly back in, like so. You're gonna go down, and I always like to go out a little bit farther, and then I bring it in like jagged jaws edges. Go out, bring it back in. You can do it on the other side. Go out, bring it back in. Go out, bring it back in. Go out, bring it back in. And then you can fill it in as you go. This is how I have been drawing trees ever since I can remember, actually. Even when I do this with a pen, I will always jimmy scratch with a triangle and then go back in. Born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, we have evergreen trees. I mean, you always see green, you always see those pine needles, those Douglas firs. And so I just kind of always, like, how can I draw this very quickly? And so I do like a little triangle and then bring it back in. Triangle, bring it back in. It's harder for me to do it on the left-hand side when I'm kind of going down than it is the right. And do you see how it's skinnier on the top and then it gets bushier as you go down? So you know what I do. You always go into the center, jaggedy edges on the bottom, out, back in. You can tell that it's going to need some filler in a little bit. We're not going to worry about that yet. You're just trying to go down and back in. Do like a little triangle there. And back in. And whee! Getting a little crazy at the bottom. You're going to go all the way down into that black forest floor. And you'll start to lose it. And you can really just kind of fill it in there. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna fill in just a little bit of the centers. Like I want a little bit more, I want it to be a little bit bushier. So I'm going back in and filling in kind of this middle. I'm making the trunk a little bit thicker. I'm really just wiggling this. So when you have that ink consistency, it makes this really easy. If you just have black paint and you don't have that ink consistency, this part's going to be kind of hard for you. You're going to notice that, you know, you keep running out of juice, keep running out of that paint really quickly. So having that ink consistency is really key here. And I kind of wiggle it down. I'm just doing kind of scraggly lines. Tree branches are not symmetrically the same. They have their own personality, so you really want to just go for it. But I am keeping it bushier in the center and then fanning out. I'm also kind of paying attention to these little edges, bringing them back. The base of the tree is going to be the bushiest, and then it's going to go right into that valley floor, like that. And that is how you get your first tree. Now we're going to go in with the next tree. So I'm going to get some more water. I'm just dipping my brush into the water and then putting it right here on my palette, also known as the lid of the black. And I'm getting that ink consistency, that's what I want. And again, starting from the top, This is a smaller tree, so I'm not going to be as liberal with it. I'm going to go down and come back in, go down, come back in. Whee! I'm really just trying to go down and come back in. You can fill it in later. Going down with the triangle, coming back in. I'm making squiggly lines. I'm not trying to make it look exactly the same. The tree gets bigger, the branches get bigger as you go down. And I keep going. I have more of this paint on there. Oh no, these branches are touching each other. That's okay, because trees run into each other, don't they? I'm gonna go down and make it back in. Go down and make it back in. Go down, make it back in. And you'll start to notice too that you'll get really confident. The more you do this, the easier it is to kind of make it up as you go. So, I like to kind of make it blend in with the bottom, but I'm going to go back in and I'm going to kind of fill in that middle a little bit. So this is where I'm really lightly just going into the middle where that trunk of the tree would be and filling in those little triangles, filling in those branches, any spots that I missed where I feel like it needs to be a little bit bushier, especially going in. And then I'm leaving it. So it's really how you get the two trees there. And then we're gonna do the same on the other side. Now, a couple of these spots you're gonna see inside, that's okay. That's good. If you wanted to bring those in, you can. If you wanna even use like a shade of black, but you want to add like a little bit of gray or something into there, or if you want to add some like bluish gray to make some shade and dimension to the trees, you can do that. I like to have them silhouetted because that's exactly what you would see when you're outdoors. If the moon is coming out, you're not going to be able to see that detail in the trees. You're going to like see those mountains, see the sky, trees are going to be completely blacked out. And because I'm a lefty, I'm gonna go into the small tree here first. And it's purely to save my hand from making a happy little accident later. And I'm just going in. And coming back into the middle. Go back out, come back in. I'm making this kind of dance around. You know, I don't want it to I don't want it to be straight lines. I'm squiggling it. It reminds me of a worm eating its way through the apple. It's not going on a direct path. It's just going wherever it wants to. Coming back in, and you can fill that in later. Coming out. Ooh. That was a very serpentine. Okay, and then we're coming in there. Starting to lose my paint, so I'm gonna go back in. There we go. All right. I want it to blend in with my forest floor. And I'm going to go in and kind of clean up these lines again. So same as the others, you're going in and cleaning up these lines. And by cleaning up, I mean I'm getting rid of I'm trying to keep to that triangle and these little jaggedy edges on the bottom. And pine needles kind of all hang, and then the tips, I'm just going to come down to a point. Okay. I want that guy to be a little bit bushier. And remember, bushier on the bottom, more simplistic on the top. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit more of my inky paint so I can finish this big old tree on the left. And then I have a special surprise for you guys. Kind of really excited. So this painting doesn't take any stencils. However, I've created something fun for our premium paint kits. Our base kits just come with the basic necessities that you need in order to create this project. But the premium kit comes with the monograms apron, and it also comes with some extras like woodland creature stencils. Because I'm so excited about it, I couldn't keep it a surprise. So let's get this tree, and then I'm going to show you what I had. I love it. I got really excited to make them. In 2 weeks, we're doing this You're My Greatest Adventure, and their little mama bear and bear cubs. And I was creating these stencils with my Cricut maker, and I was like, you know what? I really want woodland creatures. I wonder what that would look like in the mountains. And my friend that had come up with this idea for the Moonlit Sky was like, you know, it'd be really cool to have like some sort of, you know, she was like, I don't know, like maybe like some deer or something, you know, that could represent my family. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. And then we just kind of didn't really talk about it. And the idea was planted in my brain, just this little tiny seed. And I was like, you know, I wonder, maybe we should. And I got really excited coming up with a couple of different designs. And so I just had to add it into here tonight. Again, we're going down, coming back up. I'm kind of filling it in a little bit as I go. I don't need to, but I also like to. You can go down, bring back in. And I'm kind of losing. I'm going to add a little bit more here. I'd rather get this right than lose and be scraping at the very end. So I'm going to add a little bit more of my ink consistency. And then again, we're going down, and this is where, you know, it's getting bushier at the bottom, so it is going to run into this other tree. Kind of fill it in. And this is why we make that center line first, because when it gets to be the bottom and you're like on your last tree, you're kind of whatever, you know, you can get a little bit liberal with your brush strokes. So it's nice to just be reminded of that center line, so you're not, you know, getting kind of lopsided and your tree looks like it's going to fall over in the woods, which, you know, it happens all the time in real life, but for your painting, you might want to try to keep it looking like the up and up. So this is where I go in and kind of fill in those holes. I like want this to be a little bit thicker. And fill in that hole. And you guys have been rock stars. So this, one thing that's nice about these YouTube lives, if you can pause me anytime you want. You can mute me if you want, which is fantastic. I say that mocking myself, but you know, if you just want to paint and you're kind of a visual learner and you don't really want to listen to it, that's cool. Or if you like my banter, you can listen to that as well. But it's nice that you can go at the pace that you really need. Or if you need to leave this for the night, like you can't finish your painting, then you can come back to it at another time, which is really great. Or you can power through. Spend your Friday nights painting. It's a glorious, glorious time. My favorite times. So I'm just adding a couple of branches and like fuzziness into the bottom here. I feel like I kind of was losing the paint, so I'm bringing that in a little bit more. I'm trying not to make more. I'm trying to use what I have. And same with this. I'm gonna bring in those little sides there. Yes. You want to make sure it flows to the bottom. One thing I am going to cover, I'm going to have this cover down because that line bothers me. I can see the line of the mountain transition and I want to kind of cover that up a little bit just so it's not sticking out. And a little bit more over. There we go. Okay, guys, gals, people of the world, look at this. Oh boy, I'm excited. Ooh, oh, I like that. What do you think? Okay, time for my surprise. I'm excited for this. So, this isn't in the base kit, it's only in the premium kit. Sorry, basers. I needed to create something fun for my premium guys. So I have on here, I don't know if you can really see that well, but I have these little deer. I have bunny rabbits, squirrels, different sizes. Ooh, I have some birds to where you could put a little bird on it if you wanted to, up in the trees, or if you wanted a flying bird, you could put that there. So that's what I'm gonna do. I would love to use one of these deer. I'm a big fan. So I am going to check this out. And I'm gonna put them right on my ridge line. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put a couple. So I'm gonna put one here. Ooh. And I'm just going to trace this guy like so. Oh boy. So I'm gonna put a deer right there. And I don't know, what else do you think we should use? I kind of want a little bunny rabbit, so I'm gonna put a bunny here. And I'm gonna put him kind of coming off into the trees. So I'm gonna kind of move him closer. There's my little bunny rabbit. Okay, I'm gonna start off with these two. I'm using my small little tiny brush, and again, I'm using black. Starting with this side, because I do not want to get my hand in there. And I'm just going over my lines. Now here's where, again, just put paint on the very, 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 very tip of your brush. You don't want to get it in there. And then you also want to have your hand resting on the side of the table. Like so. If my big noggin got in the way, pardon, it's like an orange on a toothpick. 10 points if you get that reference. It's got its own weather system. It's from So I Married an Axe Murderer, if you want the cinematic drop. Mike Myers, oh boy, that movie. Actually, as a kid, I remember that movie would be on TV and it would freak me out. I'd be like, no, brother, turn it. It scares me. And then as an adult and a young adult, I thought it was the funniest thing in the universe. And I thought it was hilarious that Mike Myers could be multiple characters, and his dad character was hilarious to me. And the mom who liked all the like conspiracy theory magazines. I thought she was funny. Whee! Okay, so I'm trying not to get my head in here, but I also can't see very well, so I might have to rig up. But really, you're going through and you're going in between your pencil lines. So that's what you're doing. Here, I'll move this up a little bit for you. See how cool this is though? I love when you can just put a little extra in there. Bear with me as I get this little, I'm gonna go into your lines there, and then I'm gonna get this little bunny here. So the bunny is right at the bottom, and it's itty teeny. Just gonna go up for those little ears, and down. A little bushy tail. Cute little bunny. Snow White off in the woods. Be a native Portlander. I'm gonna put a bird on it because I wouldn't be from Oregon if I didn't, right? So let's see here. I'm gonna put one flying. I have two different birds, but I really like this little flying pattern. So let's see, where do I want to put this guy? Put him off into the trees. How about here? This makes me a little nervous just because, so the reason why I'm putting these on with the pencils, they're so small. I don't want to mess up with my black paint, so I would rather go over my pencil lines and have it be per size, then go over with black paint and have it bleed into my background. That is why I'm using my pencil. There we go. It's a big old bird. Go in with the head, and I'm just going to bring in the wings. This is where you really want the black paint on the tip of your paintbrush. You are going to go very gently. Very gently. And then I'm actually going to turn my canvas. I do not want to hit the paint here, so I'm very gently. Ooh. And while I said very gently, I just went way too hard on that wing, so I'm going to have to doctor that up a little bit. But look at the difference it is when you have your hand resting on the table. Here, I'm actually going to go this way. Hand resting on the table, or when it's up and you don't feel comfortable with your hand, then that's where you get those little sweeping, happy little accidents. Bring it in. Just like that. All right. Woohoo! And there you have it. Our beautiful little Pacific Northwest moonlit sky. Got some pencil on there. We're all done, complete with a bird, a little doe, and a cute little bunny. If you enjoyed this painting, if you enjoy painting, like and subscribe to this channel. We like to come out with new projects. Another project that we are going to be doing next is going to be this Mama Bear and Cubs. You can go to mamagramspaint.com and you can purchase the materials for this project. Or if you already have paints at home and you are like, hey, I don't want to buy a kit, I have stuff at home, great. You can actually buy the digital download, which includes your supply list and includes a template for this, so you can actually print out the bear template and do it yourself. Or you can just watch the video for free. It's pretty great. And I hope you really had fun. You guys make my day and you make my Friday night. So thank you and have a great weekend.